In this episode of MPTV, we visit one of my hometown favorites, Colonial Cottage. We're going to talk to owner Matt Grimes about how he took over this heritage brand that's been around for about 100 years, how he stays involved in the restaurant, how he's active in the community, and how grassroots marketing is his key to success. Let's go check it out. Hey, what's going on? It's Matt. We are at Colonial Cottage with a guy with a great name.
Hi, Matt Grimes.
There we go. We're at Colonial Cottage. This is a restaurant I've been eating at since I was a kid. I'm 44 now. I would bet I've been eating here since probably the early to mid 80s. So I've been here a lot. I've had the amazing biscuits and gravy. If you're ever in Erlanger, Kentucky, this is your place to come for breakfast. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much for having me. And as when you come in here and you tell me when I do something wrong, it's always my pleasure.
So, I've been eating here since I was a kid. I've been coming back because I honestly can't say I've ever had a bad meal. And actually, last week was the first time I've ever eaten anything outside of breakfast food here. So that was a treat. I've always seen the fried chicken on the wall, and I tell you, it lives up to it was amazing.
Well, I really appreciate that. And I'm glad you brought that fried chicken up, because every single week I look down and I look at what we've sold, what's popular, what's not. We're popular for a bunch of hot vegetables. Well, if I had turnips and I sell 3, that tells me I can't sell turnips that day. I need to come up with some stewed tomatoes or something else. So during this pandemic, we've evaluated our menu. We're trying to put what's really popular, and that fried chicken has been the most popular item on my menu by far.
Well, I can tell why. And I know that there's a lot of things that restaurants do well, and there's some that they market, they do better than others. And I've always seen the fried chicken, there used to be a poster up on the front door there talking about the fried chicken, best in the city. But every time I always came, me and my son, we always had to get biscuits and gravy. We always got it. And then we got the fried chicken, and I was looking at my son, I'm like, wow, we've been missing out. So I guess now we got to come more often so I can get both.
Well, I'm also going to ask you to try the catfish, because our catfish is really something special.
Okay, so talk about this restaurant. I know you're the second owner.
We're the third owners.
Third, okay.
Third owners in the 87-year history of the restaurant. My wife and I bought the place in 1999 and have always tried to look forward.
What got you into the restaurant business? What made you come up here and decide to take over? It's got to be tough taking over a heritage brand too, because I'm from Erlanger. Everybody knows the cottage.
Yeah, my wife's the local girl, and her dad knew the fella that owned the cottage before us. And I had worked restaurants all the way through high school and college, and this was a fit. This is the Cheers of Northern Kentucky.
Yeah, it is.
So that was a fit for me. I've been comfortable here ever since.
So what were some of the challenges when you took it over? Because a lot of the people that watch this podcast and listen to the podcast are aspiring restaurateurs, or they are restaurateurs. Maybe they're managers in the business, going to go get their own restaurant. What was the challenge taking over something that everybody loved in the area?
The challenges was keeping it the same while adding certain improvements. Anytime you change anything in a restaurant, you're going to make somebody unhappy.
Yeah.
And you're not going to immediately draw a crowd for that new item or that new dish. So I looked at what the restaurant was selling. I knew I wanted to keep these core dishes and core elements, but I wanted to bring a little personality from my personality. I grew up in Louisville. The hot browns are very popular in Louisville, so that was one of the first things I added to the menu. So while adding, not taking away, and as dining trends change, you can evaluate certain items. If sales of a particular dish have fallen off, then maybe you need to look at improving that or altering it.
So what were some of the biggest things you learned early on? Because was your background restaurants at all before this?
Yeah, I had worked in restaurants all the way through high school, all the way through college. What I learned is don't change people's fish. One of the first things I did, we had a frozen fish patty that I didn't care for, and I changed that into a hand-breaded fish. And I made a lot of people mad, and I'm thinking, this doesn't make sense to me. I want to make an improvement, but it's not viewed as an improvement. It's viewed as that new guy from out of town is changing my fish sandwich.
Yep.
So over time, I wore them out, and we're selling a hand-breaded fish sandwich, and it's become very popular, and it's going to be our most popular dish today.
Yeah, I think people become comfortable in something that they've had, whether they know it's not as good as it could be or not. but it's what they've always had.
Well, one of the other changes, the prices, we used to compete with Frisch's and we used to compete with McDonald's. Well, at one point I decided I've got to be different than that. So I went with we made our own burger patties. We increased the size, went to a CAB ground beef, and just did what we could do to make serious changes and start competing with different levels of restaurants that, I can't compete against a fast food joint. They can do it. They got buying power that I don't have. So I've got to settle on the quality. And the quality is what we've been focused on ever since my wife and I have been here.
So plus you're providing a different experience. I mean, like me and my son, we come here a lot. It's ironic, we have a gym across the street. So it's kind of funny is that we go and work out,
right,
and then we come here and undo it with some great biscuits and gravy.
You undo it with, but you could go for an omelet with all the different vegetables.
I gotta have the biscuits and gravy. But it's a different experience for me because I agree with that. I can see where a lot of businesses, the inclination is to try and keep up with like the pizza places. Look at all of them. Every one of them, it's a coupon to death, and it's this dollar amount pizza. It's what they focus on is the dollar amount, not what's going into the food. I've never thought about coming here or not coming here because of price. I'm coming here for this reason.
Well, and we appreciate that. And quality is what our focus is. If I can find a way, if I don't like it, and I don't like it because it's the recipe, well, then I'm going to change it. I've got to be proud and confident in what I'm serving.
Yeah. Okay, break time. Restaurateurs, it's Matt. And if you're watching MPTV, you're obviously interested in improving your business. What if I told you could finally take the hope and pray out of your marketing plan and spend money and see results? You see, most marketing starts with the same exact tactic. You gain the attention of somebody, but that's where the majority of it stops. What we do with the ROI engine is help you gain amazing attention, which drives gigantic engagement. That engagement leads to customers to tell us who they are, meaning they opt into your email, text, and birthday program, and then we drive them to buy something. We've got a lot of great programs that can help you, and we'd love to have a conversation with you. If you're interested, it's easy. Check out roiexperts.net. You can schedule an appointment, and we'll hop on a call with you. Worst case scenario, you learn how to market your restaurant like you've never heard of before. Back to the action. What has been one of the biggest things that you've done that's really made an impact with regards to running the restaurant in those years?
Well, it's got to be the chicken. The chicken, there was a competition 10 years ago this week that, come compete in our competition. And well, I went and competed and I won that first year, and then I made it a point where I was going to win every year. And this is the first year. They've just announced that they're going to have an online voting program, and it's Northern Kentucky Magazine doing that.
Yeah.
And every restaurant has to have a signature.
Yep. My
signature is Geta. I've got that solid. I've got Geta heads out there. They've got to have their Geta. They're coming for their Geta, and they're like you. That's all they're going to order. But that just gave me breakfast. And in this COVID thing, I'm very happy. I transitioned pretty quick. I spun to focus on comfort food. And there's nothing more comfortable than fried chicken, mashed potatoes, and green beans.
What about your chicken and something like that? You mentioned a benchmark, an item that people can measure.
The signature
item.
Signature dish.
What have you done? I guess you can give away the secret to it, but there's a lot of chicken out there.
There's a lot of chicken out there, but my chicken is fresh chicken.
Okay.
I've never sold a frozen chicken, and you can tell they're frozen when you get down to the bone and the bone is black. Well, that chicken's been frozen. So we've always done a fresh chicken, and it's
paid dividends.
It's paid dividends. During the shutdown, it was getting tight due to the supply chain. I was sweating a little bit there. We had to make some changes. No longer could you get an all-white package because I was running out of chicken breasts, and just subtle changes like that. And the public has been very receptive of it. They understand supply chain issues.
Yep.
We're all facing it. Everybody's been to a grocery store.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and you see some of those empty shelves.
And I think one of the big things too there is a lot of restaurateurs, they can buy a product cheaper. They're looking, okay, do I make my mashed potatoes in-house, or do I buy them from the food distributor? And consumers can tell that, but there's always that inclination to maybe how I can, they say step over a dollar to save a dime.
Yeah.
And I think that's a line you've got to be willing to step over.
Well, and I had to learn that the hard way. I decided I wanted to sell a fresh tuna steak. Well, by golly, I sold it and it was good, but I couldn't sell it. I couldn't sell it at the price I needed to make a dime. So, so I took it off the menu and I spun another way. I started putting attention on our catfish. You know, this place has been here for breakfast, as you've known for 100 years, but we also do dinner. So what are we going to do dinner that's different than the guy down the street? You know, if you're coming from the expressway, from either direction, you have to pass 37, or at least before the pandemic, it was 37 restaurants in this area. So what do I do differently? And I have to focus on, focus on what I do and what I do well.
So along those lines, marketing-wise, you're small, mom and pop, one location restaurant. You don't have a corporate office. You don't have a marketing co-op fund. You don't have branding outside of the heritage here. What have you done from a marketing standpoint that's helped you stay in front of people?
Every single year, and this has been true since year one, I've tried to do something to garner free press.
Okay.
Now what is that? That's competing in competitions. That's giving something away. That's supporting a little league team. It's something along those lines to capture free press. And when I started, newspapers were very popular. They're not as popular today. So what's popular? Social media. So how do I capture free press on social media? I do a blowout. I started an all-you-can-eat chicken night where I did it for $6.99, and this was 8 or 10 years ago. And I went wild on social media. So, you know, I'm not making any money at that price, but I'm gathering a whole bunch of attention. Social media, people are coming, they're eating my product, and they're enjoying it, and they're talking about me. Yeah, so that was one successful example. Because
they see it, they come and try it, now they got to come back.
Right. And I only do it 6 times a year. And they talk about it. They call me, when is your next one? Well, you know, I've got to give them a reason to come in here at other times. Yep. But that one draws attention. It goes nuts on social media. So I'm doing that. I'll feed the city, or I'll work with the Go Pantry program. I do outdoor events. I've done several wineries over the years where I'll go and I'll sell food at the different wineries at the invitation of the winery. If they don't have a kitchen, they need to have it for their music venues. For the last 6 or 7 years, I've been down at Behringer Crawford's music, their music fest on every Thursday night through the summers, and those people have been very supportive. And you know, they come out here. I'll do things for them, and they'll come into the restaurant. So it's getting creative. It's thinking outside the box. Hey, how can you draw attention to you in a positive light? Well, the easiest way is to give stuff away. Yeah. The second easy is to help somebody in a way that a big chain wouldn't. Not because they don't want to. They're not set up like that. Yeah. I have a portable grill. You've seen my grill. Yep. During the it first made it to the sidewalk when we had the big power outage, and I think it was 07 or 08, and I had all this food that was thawing out or going to go bad in my refrigerator, so we set the grill up out front. You know, I've got frontage on Dixie Highway. If nothing else, people can say, hey, I've seen that guy. He's been out in the street. He's been out working. And that, I hope that builds confidence.
Oh, it does. I mean, it's grassroots marketing. I mean, you're putting yourself in front of people you might not have had a chance. I actually talked to a young man, you might, I don't know if you know this or not, but you guys catered the Ryle football banquet.
Oh, yeah.
And
we were all set to do it again this year.
And I was actually there. It was kind of funny. We came here recently, like 2 months ago, with one of my son's friends. One of the ways that came up is like, I want to have that food from the banquet. He had never had your food, but football banquet, there it is. And a lot of restaurants I've seen that their comfort zone isn't going outside and doing that. I've always said grassroots marketing, go where the people are. And you went there and you got 50 or 60 kids, and 50 or 60 kids is 120 parents, and 120 parents is probably 100 to 200 grandparents.
Right, and Lloyd's here. I've done Lloyd's, yep. I've done Dixie's, and I've done Beechwood. Okay. Yeah, and I've done St. Henry's. So at different times, and the coaches change, and they each have their own idea. But I have done those schools, and I'll go back and do those schools. I mean, that's where some of my employees come from. Yeah. Yeah, it's a great grassroots marketing, getting out in the community, because I'm sure those, especially if you being the owner, you served the food at the one I was at recently, Ryle, and you weren't making any money being there, but at the same time, it's the sweat that in 2, 3, 4 years builds up.
that people
I sure hope that works after 21 years. That as we get through this situation, that people remember that and they come back.
Okay, so let's transition. Let's talk about that. We're sitting here. It's, I think, what is today's date? May 28th, 27th, 28th, something like that. I think I've lost track of date. I feel like I've lost track of the days the past couple months.
I only know my days because of the menu changes.
So we're the end, hopefully the beginning of the end of COVID-19. What have you guys done? I know you've done curbside. You've done about everything to survive. But what have you done in the downtime as well? Because the restaurant got a pretty nice makeover, right?
Yeah, it got a nice makeover. I was very fortunate to get the PPP loan, and the PPP loan allowed me to have people in here when my income dropped to 8% of what it should have been. 8%. On the very first week, we were at 8% of what we should have been. So that was a scary time. Didn't know at that time we didn't have any loans, and the whole PPP thing hadn't been formulated. Yeah. But we were coming up with ways on A, how we can keep the doors open, B, keep as many people so when we do come to the other side that we're set and ready to go.
What was it from a mental standpoint? You know, I've went through a couple tough times with businesses. I had a boat and RV dealership that collapsed during the 2008 economic crisis.
That was a beautiful building too,
yeah,
by the way.
Thank you. And it was tough mentally. How did you cope with that the first couple weeks? Because you got to be strong for your wife and kids and staff, but at the same time,
there was a lot of anxiety. I played football when I was in college, high school. And, you know, if things get down, you just got to do what you think is best. You know, you got to have confidence in yourself that you can get through this. And what do you think is best to position you to the other side? Okay. And there were people that said we should just close. We could close and we could do X, Y, and Z. I'm part of the community of Erlanger. You know, I may not have been born here, but I feel like I'm part of this community, and I needed to be here for those people that eat here every single day. And I really wanted to do this, and I had advice from very close, loving family that suggested, you know, you're not going to make it. And I had confidence that I would, and you know, the jury's still out. We're not completely open. Hopefully we'll be there through the other side, but I think we're very well positioned to take advantage of certain opportunities as fewer restaurants open up. Those people have to dine somewhere.
Yeah.
So I'm just hoping that my hard work and the hard work of those that are around me pays off.
So you mentioned the PPP loan. I know there's obviously just the last couple of days some changes to it, and when this comes out, maybe those changes that did or didn't happen. I would imagine they'll probably happen. But I know that you used the money how it was intended to be used early on, and now you're coming into June, and had maybe the option been open to not use it in 8 weeks, use it in 24 weeks. I'm sure you probably maybe would have changed your course a little, right?
Oh, absolutely. I would have changed my course on that. I would have stretched it out as far as I could. But the way I used it, I had a core group of people that I really wanted to protect. That could work. You know, there's a core group of people, some very popular people that couldn't work because of child care, and I understand that, and they were able to get the unemployment and that. But the people that I did work, we worked them hard. I might have, they got more hours than they otherwise would have. Got creative, as I said, painting, staining, cleaning. I used the people in every direction that I could to make sure that they were making a living wage. And I might have been a bit tighter on that. I might have just tried to spread the hours out further amongst different people. But when we first did this PPP loan, that's what the program was. You use it, you pay it, it's going to be gone in 8 weeks. The people have to have made X. My payroll had to be the same. So that's how I did it. And rules changed. I understand that. We were all in this together. I'm not bitter or anything like that. But yeah, I would have done some things differently. But I'll figure it out.
I will say this though. Like I said, I've been coming here a while, and I was like, I hadn't been in this part of the restaurant until just this interview. And I was like, wow. I mean, we always sit at the bar.
You always sit at the bar.
Always sit at the bar, and it looks amazing. So I mean, when this all happened, I was talking to a lot of restaurateurs. I mean, the gym I've got, we've put a lot of time and effort into rehabbing it, making it nicer, making it better. And I think that the tough part about that is some businesses don't want to look at that. You know, they're not looking long term. I mean, this right here, you know, right now, short term, but it's going to be here for a long time, and it's going to make an impact. People
Well,
are gonna come
and many
back.
of the changes that were on our books were planned for later on in the year.
Yep.
When we slowed down, this all happened when we were supposed to be getting busy.
Yep.
And that hurts a little bit more. And then we get some downtime in the summer with all the festivals and whatnot. We had planned some changes for that, so we accelerated that schedule. We borrowed more money than I thought we would have needed to. So the changes were coming. They just weren't coming as fast as this world we're in has created.
What's some of the biggest things you've seen from your staff from a resiliency? Because there's been a lot of stress put on them.
The biggest changes, I've got certain people in this building that have been with me through the whole time that really get nervous around what we call aliens. People who we don't know what their background is and who they're associating with. Yeah. So there's a lot of anxiety. And then I've got others that are as comfortable in a crowd as you would want them to be. Just dealing with, from a leadership role in a business, to come to a consensus and take everyone's concerns into consideration. Like the counter that you like so much. I don't know when I'm going to be able to open that because it's not 6 feet from my worker who's standing over there freaking out every time she goes home. Yeah. So I've got to take those concerns into consideration and make those changes. If she's not comfortable with people sitting that close to her, well, then I'm going to have to move them back. And that was one of the other things that we learned is we have to train our customers. You know, when I open the double drive-through out front, I have people coming in 2 different ways. Well, it's coming up with ways to train your customers to do more of what you want to do. They're never always going to do exactly what you want them to do. I've still got people coming in where the exit is. But that's a lot less. It's a lot less of an inconvenience. A lot of people, you know, they're following the rules. They're seeing that we're changing things and we're trying to create a traffic pattern so they don't have to get out of their cars. Or if now that they're dining in, they can be in one of these numbered spots and say, I'm over here, can I come in now? Yes, please come in. And that's what we're doing. We're asking, it's curbside check-in. If you make it out here and we've got a table for you, call us and we'll invite you in right away. Or if that table's getting ready to turn, give us 5 minutes to clean and sanitize it, and we're going to have a nice, safe environment for you to come in and enjoy your meal in a restaurant and allow you to relax. But have confidence that we're doing it in a safe way.
Restaurant owners, did you know Matt has free online marketing courses that teach you how to successfully market your restaurant? Email support@mattplapp.com to get access to the courses and a free social media content calendar.
How tough was it during that 8 weeks where you really didn't get this, like you've got your customers that are regulars, but you don't get to interact? I mean, I know you guys do a great job here, everybody does, of walking around, talking to tables, the cashiers when you're paying at the front. You know, there's a lot of one-on-one interaction that went away. I mean, how tough was that to adjust to, that all of a sudden, like, hey, there's a wall between us, I can't see you.
Well, and that's interesting. We had this core group of people that came to work every day, and we had loud music, we had off-color language going through the restaurant, just things that you would never do in a public environment, but we were able to do that here, and it relieved a lot of tension. I mean, we were shouting from here all the way over to the other side, and that, you know, that's not normal. and that was a big tension reliever for us. We have somebody who doesn't read the signs, and they walk in the restaurant, everybody's head turns, hey, stop! You can't be doing that, as somebody would say.
Yeah.
So we had fun with it. I mean, yes, it was stressful. Yes, it was a lot of anxiety, and yes, we had different people at different levels of anxiety. But you know, I got to climb over this painter down here so that I can get to that car that's outside. Well, by golly, I climb over them. So, you know, it's not normal, but we had fun with it. Not recommended for everybody.
Yep.
Glad I didn't have the entire staff during those times, because the ones that we did have, a few of them tried to freak out a few times. we would get busy with curbside and the kitchen would go under. I didn't have enough kitchen staff or something along those lines, or we ran out of foam containers here, or I've got 2 chicken breasts in the house and I've got an order for 3. What do? You pivot.
Yeah.
You learn, you adapt, you adjust.
So the way I like to end every episode is to ask a question that you don't know about. It's, what's one thing you're talking to a restaurant owner, an operator, a manager, somebody in the business. What's one thing that you've done that's been a backbone of your business that you would say you got to do this to survive anytime, or to survive in this business to really make an impact?
I think, and it goes with my staff as well as with my customers. If I have an opportunity to be nice to someone, some business, some school group, then I should do that. The value that I get out of it and the loyalty that's developed is far greater than the cost to me if I can help this group. So I would think, be a good neighbor. That's
Yep.
Being a good neighbor, I think, is paramount, especially when I've got all these fast food joints and chain restaurants. They can't be a good neighbor on all situations. They can't afford to be a good neighbor. They can't help this school, that school, and this cheerleading group and that football team. I may be able to give them money, but I can do something to help them. And that sets the independents apart.
There it is. Another episode of MPTV in the books. Be a good neighbor. I appreciate your time, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.